or they go, like doing work in their classrooms to make up work, or they need extra help at that time. So it's like I just have whoever I have, and if they've missed, then they show up, they're a week behind,
Mhm.
and they don't all practice. Most of them don't.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm struggling with like a half-hour lesson once a week where, it's just
absolutely.
we have to put on a
Yeah,
show at the end of the year.
that that I'm gonna be honest, that is difficult. I do understand that. Um, that is where the habit stacking came from for me. I was at a school one year where we literally had 5 start points. Like it was the stupidest schedule in the world. I shouldn't say that. I should pick a better word, but
I
uh
can I can top your stupid schedule.
yeah.
Believe me. I've had 90 sixth grade band members in 15-minute band rehearsals.
It's crazy.
And then I got
And
in trouble for not being at my seventh grade music class on the other side of the school on time because I had to
they don't
teach. Okay.
they don't get it. They don't
No.
get it. And like you said, it takes having the right people there, and
Yeah.
there's no substitute for having the right type of leadership and that vision. But sometimes we're in situations where we can't dictate that. We're just at the whim of whoever's in charge. And in my case, I got these 5 entrance points and they were ridiculous. It was like one class came in and then another class came in 7 minutes after. It was over the span of about 15, maybe even 20 minutes of
Okay.
entrances. I mean, how aggravating that is, right?
How did you
So
do
it
it?
came to the, well, what happened was, and you got to hear the whole statements. I say this with love. I gave up. And when I say I gave up, if you can't beat them, join them.
Mhm.
So I knew that there was no way I could start that class at that specific time. So what I did was I let them come in, and when they came in for the first maybe 5 minutes, I let them talk on their own. But what I would start doing is I started having a talk leader. Like we'd have somebody that would open the discussion with a joke and they'd write it on the board, or somebody would be like, "Hey, what did we do? What did you do this weekend?" And it was so crazy because they listened to each other better than they listened to the adults, right? So that one little kid gets up there with this little fluff, and everybody's locked in because they want to be the fluff keepers next time. So we did that for the first 5 minutes. That allowed for that first group, maybe that second to kind of, funnel in. And then after that, we had a soft practice start. Okay, guys, I'd flip the lights. Like, I'm gonna be honest, they used to do this at this church I used to go to. People hang around, talk too much at the end. My man cut the lights off. When they cut the lights off, that meant you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of here, right? So I flipped the lights, and the kids knew that meant go get your horn. We're flipping the script, right? And I made it kind of catchy. And I'm gonna be honest, flipping the script, flipping the lights. I didn't think it was all that fancy, but the kids were like, "We're gonna flip," maybe because it sounded close to something else. But they got excited about flipping off, so they flipped, and then they got their instruments, and then they started practicing on their own. And what I would do after I got them practicing on their own for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, then I started getting somebody to channel the chaos. So when they started practicing, I would say, at the end of class, "Hey, tomorrow or next week when we come in and practice, Jimmy, I need you, let the trumpets practice for a few minutes. And Jimmy, can you get all the trumpets? And I want y'all to work on We Will Rock You." Okay, Samantha, okay, all the third clarinets, y'all practice for a few minutes. And when I say assemble, and I used to be silly with it, I was like, assemble like Captain Planet or something like that, or the Avengers. I'd get a microphone and turn the reverb up really high. Assemble! And that boy, they just thought it was the craziest thing. And they'd all assemble in their little teams. And this bought me another 5 minutes. So it was like it was organized chaos, but it was always pointing towards something. And then after they did that for a while, by the time I kind of gauged it and saw where I had everybody that I needed in the class, then I'd say, "All right, class, first one is," and they'd say, "Follow directions. Next, raise your hand to speak." And they slowly start matriculating to their spots or their chairs. And then we started class, and it was a win-win. It let them feel like that they kind of had a little ownership in it, but it also made me look like I was in control when in absolute reality, it was the most bat crazy chaos. I hated it. I like organization, but I had to like make that choice of, do I die on this mountain or do I just kind of flow with it? The habit stacking came as a result of this. And I know, I know, Terry, you had a question about this in one of the emails, and I think Willie did too. You know, like when you don't, or somebody did, when you don't see them consistently, that's where habit stacking came from. I was at another school that was kind of like the hood school, and not kind of like that was the one I told y'all, like literally somebody tried to kill somebody the first day of school, right? So I'm at this school, and um, yeah, nobody can play. I'm just be honest with you. Like they can't play, even the eighth graders. Like I'll never forget the first day we took out the horns with the eighth graders. I said, okay, let's go, horns up. And my girl went, "Ah," and you can imagine what it sounded like. I mean, anytime, like it ought to be muscle memory. When you pick up the horn wrong, you already know everything that's happening after that moment is going to be awful. And it was. So nobody could play, like even the eighth graders couldn't play. So I was like, man, what am I going to do? And it hit me. People, my wife tells me this all the time. Like sometimes as band directors and orchestra director, choir and everything, we just get too deep. People really don't care like we care. Now, I'm not saying don't care. I'm just saying have perspective. They really don't care.
I tell myself that every
All they
day.
want to see is their baby on the stage. And this woman, and apparently, this baby's mama been watching her baby pick up the flute the wrong way, and she was happy with it. So just doing this was a win. I was playing with house money. I just got her to hold the instrument correctly. So it hits. My wife says all the time, they don't care, Mickey. Like stop making it so deep. So I took that philosophy, especially with this school I was at, and I decided, I'm like, man, I had kids that weren't showing up. Truancy wasn't a huge problem. Kids would just walk off campus and it was like, you know, F you. I'm just being honest. They'd tell, and they like, boom, they'd leave. Like people were fighting. I never fought them because some of them were bigger than me. But it was like, it was a different situation. So how am I going to tell somebody to practice, you know, when I don't know if they got like a knife on them or if they, whatever they're going to do. So, and certain battles I didn't take. So I made a decision. I'm like, okay, I know I want us to win, so to speak, and I want us to be successful. What does this look like? And it occurred to me, this school had never heard a good ensemble in years. We're talking like 20 years. They had a premier group in Texas years ago, but it just went, it dipped, not dipped, it fell apart. So 20 years they haven't had a good band. And I'm thinking to myself, quantity or quality? And it hit me. All we need is 5 notes. They got this rapper, he says, all I need is one mic. And I kept hearing that song in my head. All I need is one mic. All I need is 5 notes. Because when you look at the method book, I'm gonna be honest, there's probably 100 songs easily you can create with 5 notes. So what I found out was by focusing on just perfecting those first 5, that was a manageable, achievable goal that I could actually do in the course of a semester and then build upon in the second semester. I didn't even worry about teaching them the whole scale. It was just, doggone, we're only going to have 5 notes, but we're going to have the best doggone 5 notes that they got in the whole district. And we worked them 5 notes. I mean, we worked on tone, we worked on the tuning, worked on the technique, we worked on every facet of that concert F. I mean, and my friend of mine, he took it to a whole nother level. He started a project where he would call prominent musicians in to show us how they make their concert out. So he had premier artists just, I think he even got Wynton Marsalis to come on one day and do a concert F and just video it. And it's amazing how much can go into just one sound. And I started doing that with the students. And what happened was we went up for our Christmas concert, and we got up there, we played Hot Cross Buns, and I played theme and variations of Hot Cross Buns. So, ba, 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 you know the song. Then the second time through, bum, 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 bum. Then I changed the dynamics. Bum, 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 boom. Timpani had a little timpani roll. Bum, bum. Those people erupted. People are still talking about that. I ran into a guy, this was almost 20 years ago. I ran into a guy, he was like, man, you tell him about that concert. And I'm like, Hot Cross Buns? Like y'all still talking about, they still talking about Hot Cross Buns because it was played with such great tone and accuracy. I'll never forget that. So now when I program, if I'm in a situation where I got a class that's once a week, first off, why does it need to be harmony? Why does the showcase even have to be multiple parts? Why can't you do songs out the, I'm saying you, I'm speaking in general. Why can't we, that's a better word. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to somebody. Why can't we do the tunes out of the method book along with the play along track? Because at the end of the day, all the parents hear is their kids practicing at home, and it sounds like trash when they're practicing at home. Let's just be honest. Most parents don't even want their child to practice at home, if they even practice. So by putting the play along track on, and you have 12 saxophones in perfect unison and in tune, hey, that's worthy of a standing ovation right there, even if it is in unison. And what happens is it takes that pressure off of you to try to come up with all this content when you only see them once a week. And I said all that to say, now the habit stack makes more sense because we're breaking it down, not to get from point A to point Z, but just from point A to point B so we can showcase C. Like, we don't have to go through all of Z, because the kids, what happens is success is the greatest recruitment and retention tool. If we can get kids to sound phenomenal on Go Tell Aunt Rhody, because kids know if we feed them a bunch of bull, they, oh, good jobs. No, like, we don't sound good. But when you do start getting to the point where you sound good, kids are like, wow, we sound good. And it doesn't even matter what they play. And then what happens is, then they start practicing more. And then when they start practicing more, then they go online and they'll shock you. I've seen it. I'm telling you. Mr. Smith, I found this online. Yeah. They doing stuff we didn't have time to do in class. And it all started with hot cross buns. Don't underestimate the value of quality over quantity. Once a week, it can be done. We just have to change the whole paradigm of how we do it.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. It's just some of them won't get past hot cross buns. We're only doing 3-note songs right now. They can play 5 notes, but they don't practice. So, some of them are ahead on Jingle Bells and others are still on hot cross buns. And in between there's Mary Had a Little Lamb and Down by the Station and all the other.
And a big part of what we do, big part of what I do here, because I got my 4th graders twice a week, which I know you'd give anything to have them twice. So I get it. It's still twice. But one thing I do, and I do it with love, we do not move on until it's right.
That's how I operated. Yeah, when my first year teaching, that's how my co-teacher and I operated. Yeah. And I used to write up the flute parts higher, an octave higher for my advanced flautists, and keep the others back. And we just have a little bit of harmony there because they needed a challenge and they needed to just figure out the fundamentals. So
another thing that helps with this too, and I like the fact you got them co-teaching, because I've been doing that with mine too. I have some of the older ones come in and work with them, and I have a middle school class where we have 8th, 7th, and 6th together. So that helps. Another thing, don't underestimate this either, the phone. What happens is when I tell you as a teacher, oh, that's not good, do it again, even if it's with love, it's like, whatever. I can argue with that. That's subjective. That's your opinion. But when I record you, and I play it back, because a lot of times what I've done in class, especially at this new school I'm at, I needed them to get on board. I started walking around. I don't even know if this is legal or not. They knew I was doing it after they found out I was doing it. But I would walk around and I would FaceTime live. Like, if you go, I have a Facebook group called Band Together. If you go on it, you'll see I go live sometime in the class. You'll see live videos. And boy, when I go around, these kids, they like performing. Oh snap, he's going live. Okay, let me sit up. I'm like, y'all listen better to social media than you do me, right? So they sit up a little taller. And then also too, they never know who's going to hear it. And sometimes I don't even press record. Sometimes I just walk around. They think I'm recording. And I'm like, well, I say, I got some folks, and I'll brag on them sometimes, especially if they're not doing good. Yeah. Harry Wong told us lie. So I lie sometimes. And I'm like, hey, I had this band that reached out. They heard about you guys, and they were really bragging. I thought I'd send them some video. Y'all did so good yesterday. Now, they did absolutely terrible, but I told you did so good yesterday. I want you guys to video. Boy, they sit up. Why? Because they think somebody's watching them. How many kids practice right before the concert? You see what I'm saying? So what I do is I bring the concert every week. The concert is the phone. and I'll just walk around, or I'll say, "Hey, the principal wanted to see y'all. She walked around yesterday," and I'll do a video. I'll walk around. Boy, they sit up taller. Then I'll record them sometime, and I'll let them go back and listen to it. And I explain to them the parameters. We're not gonna laugh. We're not gonna laugh at each other. Okay, this is like football, especially if I got athletes in there and they understand we watch film. This is just like your favorite team. Your favorite team, your favorite coach watches film so that we can figure out what to improve on. I need your help. We're going to play this back. I need you to tell me, what can we improve on? And that's where the level one comes in. Posture, watching, toe tapping, breathing in, breathing out, band face, putting it all together. Why? I've created a rubric. Now we go back and listen to this. You guys tell me, what can we do better? Raise your hand to speak, because they all gonna blurt out, I think so-and-so's not sitting upright. Fantastic. You said it, I didn't. Now, guys, let's take 2 minutes. Let's take 2 minutes. Let's peer partner. Okay. Let's peer partner. I want everybody to work on that song again. And can you help your partner make sure they're sitting up correctly? And I'm going to hold you accountable to how well your partner does. Okay. And I'm going to pick the best people that did it. All of a sudden, they killing each other trying to sit up better. Why? Because they want to outdo team number one, team number two. And maybe I have a little jar of Jolly Ranchers on the way out for everybody that did excellent. You get a little exit prize. That's the kind of stuff that would like resonate with them. And then we go back and listen, and they can't argue with it. They're like, dang, I don't sound good. You could hear them having these conversations. Dang, we do need to. Oh, okay, okay. And I do that weekly until, I'm telling you, it's all about the consistency. It's all about the consistency. You're not gonna, it's gonna look like they're not paying attention, but I promise you, they're actually paying attention closer than we realize. They're actually, and I'm not saying this to admonish anybody, but I'm just saying, they're actually not really paying attention to what we say. They're paying attention to what our standard is. That's really what they're paying attention, because at the end of the day, they're gonna sit there and they're like, okay, all right, yeah, I know what he said, but yeah, watch. I'm not gonna sit up. Watch. He's not gonna hold me accountable. And then after a while, about 2 or 3 days, we get tired and they're like, we won. I don't have to sit up. I told you. But with me, I'm gonna be honest, every day, that consistency. And what happens is they rise to the standard. But it's hard because for so long you'll look at it and it won't look like it's making a difference. But breaking that thing down into smaller chunks and being incredibly consistent with it, and having a means of reflection to where they can see it or hear it, I'm telling you, those three things together makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Yeah, I do a lot of that stuff. My problem is, I guess, because it's first thing in the morning and they're coming in off the bus, a lot of
Mm,
times I'll say, okay, find measure two. Help your partner find measure two. Everybody point to measure two. And I'll walk around and look, and half of them are just sitting there like this, or they don't look at the notes. And I have to sit there and point, but I can't be in everybody's, it's just,
yeah. Well, with that, I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes, because it's first thing in the morning. That's fair. I get that. It's first thing in the morning. Sometimes what we do, what we do in here is no books, no books.
it's
I take out
echoing.
my instrument.
Yeah.
I take out my instrument and I just play the snot out of something. And everybody's got their thing. Maybe you're more classically based. Maybe you got a jazz background. Maybe I don't know. Whatever you find, what your forte is. What's your most impressive thing that you can play, or sing, or perform, and you do that for them. And then you say, you know what? I think we all can do that. Who can match me? And I literally go in the book and I'll do exercise too, but I'll play it with the most incredible tone possible. And I'll play. Give me one person that can match me. And there's always going to be one. There's always at least one. And there's one fantastic. And then what I do is, matter of fact, I'll take something out. I'll say, man, I got a prize for you, man. I had these glasses. I can't really use them anymore. Here you go. Here you go. Hey, this is for you, man. Just something absurd. And it depends on the grade level. I know you wouldn't necessarily do this with 11th graders, but I keep crazy stuff I just keep crazy stuff around. I got footballs in here. I got all kind of little trinkets. I rarely break them out, but for dire circumstances, I'll give a kid that. Oh man, well look, I'm looking for somebody else that can do it, and I add on and add on, and then as I do it, and we'll get into this today when we talk about I see you. Every time a kid does well, we got to see them. Sometimes, and it's again, speaking in general, sometimes they don't do because it's not attractive. It's not attractive. What's the reward for actually putting in this extra effort, which it's a lot of effort to play music, if I'm not going to be celebrated? And trust me, I'm that dude. I ain't giving out prizes for everything. Like that, those analogies, examples I gave you, those are few and far between. Maybe once a month I do that, but it makes it special because I rarely do it. But what I give is even sweeter. I think that every kid wants to know they're loved, valued, and wanted. So when you can tie what they do and who they are to your approval, kids are naturally people pleasers at the end of the day, even the worst ones, and especially the worst ones. Sometimes the worst ones want to please people, but for whatever reason, they just haven't been able to. So they look for any possible way to get attention. And sometimes that's just doing the absolute opposite thing of what you asked them for. So when a kid comes through, and I'll go back to I'll start living again. I just realized I got away from that, but I'll start living again so you can see it in real time. When a kid is in my class, for example, we're coming off spring break and a lot of these kids don't want to participate. So I've started doing something. I had two choices. I can either make them do it. I can say, okay, everybody play. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to have half of them that don't want to move, because also I'm at a private school. You can't tell me what to do type deal. And they really can't because they're paying me, right? So I can't. So I have to figure out how to do this. So what I started doing now is I'll come out and I'll look at the chairs and I'll say, hey, clarinets, do I have anybody that would like to do it? And then one or two will do it. Oh, give me my two that would like to do it. Any trumpets? And whoever likes to do it, I let them do it. And when they do it, I'm telling you, y'all gonna think this is so corny, but because I run a pretty regimented class, okay, you see them, these things look familiar, I'm sure. Follow directions, all that good stuff. Because I run a very regimented class, when I do show love, it's really appreciated. So what happens is when they come into class, we go over it every day. Personal belongings on the shelves. Bring your horns to the cases to the chair. 5-minute warm up on your own. Have your pencil and music. Read the band agenda board, which is over there. You can see the little dry erase board. Remember to take your belongings when you leave. Follow directions. Raise your hand. Speak. Stand your seat. Be prepared. Respect. Proper. Cheers. Respect. Gum, candy, food, or drinks are not allowed. Don't just talk about it. It's in all bold caps. It says be about it. Why? Because that's their call and response. That's their cue to get their instruments out. I don't tell them to get their instruments out anymore. All I say is be about it. See, a lot of times too, I have to kind of balance this because I don't want to be too preachy either. So I tie action to the words they say. Then when they start coming around, they start doing their things. Oh, good job, good job. I give them a thumbs up. Man, good job. And it's quiet. I'll come around, pat on the back. Man, I'm really proud of that. That's good job. I know it seems simple, but there's a difference between telling the class good job and going to Bobby and telling him quietly, hey, I really do like what you just did. That was good. Do that again for me in just a second. I'm gonna come back. Or finding Tim, who's cutting up over here. Hey, in just a second, I'm gonna come back. I need a volunteer. I'm gonna ask you to play, just like Bobby did. Matter of fact, do me a favor. Pick your favorite person to play along with, and we'll do a trio in just a second. All right, as the band's playing, like there's no dead time. And then when they finish, I come back and I pick those people up and we play. I'm keeping them involved. Another thing, I'm doing this on purpose, walking around so you can see my greatest ally is proximity. I'm never on the podium. Like, never. I'm never, like, to start class, I might just to look formal because they bought a podium. So I feel like I should use it at least a little bit. So to start class, I'll be on the podium. But especially with those classes, like the ones you're talking about where they're squirrely and stuff like that, I'm going around. Why? Because I need them to know that I see you. And not from a standpoint of I'm policing you, but I see you. Most young people have never had an adult come into their vicinity in a positive manner. Most teachers, when they approach them, is to pick up their assignment, to fuss at them, to write them up. I want you to think about it. I want you to notice, walk around your school and just notice, unless it's that 4.0 student or the likable student, most marginalized kids, the ones that aren't too bad, aren't too good, will never really have a ton of connection points. They'll never have a bunch of interactions with teachers. They're just part of the machine, part of the class. So one way to get them to do is to take a minute and actually see them and go through. I'm telling you this. I really want y'all to try this week. Get off the podium, walk around, start planning. And I would even write it out. Who are the 5 people in my class today I'm really going to make connection with? Before we start class, I meet them outside and I talk with them. And I ask them, I asked them about the national championship. I'm going to be honest. I could care less about March Madness. I even really watch it. I watched LSU because, from Louisiana, whatever. But like, I'm not watching that. I could care less. I don't even really follow football. But when it comes to these kids, I'll watch it for a little while so I can figure out something. I don't know anything about dance, but I went out and found something about the regional dance competitions because I got 2 girls in here that dance. So we just kind of talk. Now, when I go to make that withdrawal from them and that demand, I've already made a deposit. And I think sometimes it can be so academic and we're reading music all the time, it sucks the fun out of it sometimes. And on top of that, because we're part of a collaborative in a group, we feel like we ain't really being seen. So I'm gonna do some stuff to be seen, or I'm just gonna like cut out altogether. So that's why I say, set some things in place to really see the kids, because that's what's gonna make the difference. How do I know that? Because I watch every year for festival when people go to MPAs and contests and sight reading. And the vast majority of music educators, after they have demanded and required so much from these kids and themselves, and they spent hours and hours toiling over 3 songs for 3 months, and they've taken these kids out of their practices and away from home, when the dust settles and they do the post on social media, they take a picture of the trophy. We did it. And it's like, I rarely see, I don't want to say rarely, the minority of the pictures I see are of the kids. It's of the trophy. And look, I'm not trying to put anybody on blast. There's probably 3 people on here like, holy crap, I just took a picture of the plaque yesterday. I'm not saying you're a bad person. It's just like, that picture to me says a whole lot. And I've been guilty of it. I was the dude that took the picture of the trophy and was like, we did it. What did we do? A trophy? So I'm saying, we don't want to have trophies over the kids. Everything we do has to be about the kids. Why am I saying that? Because you can con a con, you can fool a fool, but you can't kid a kid. Kids are natural people pleasers. But the problem with today's kids is they are making a demand that past generations haven't. Past generations weren't able to. When I was a kid, it was like, be seen and not heard. When I was a kid, you didn't push back and debate anything. It was what I said because I said so. But this generation, they're showing up with a little bit of like, hey, why? So we have to be able to show them why it matters. But before we can show them why it matters, every day in our class, we have to show them why they matter. So this is going to be the focus of this week. This is a deep dive today. This week is going to be a deep dive. If you were a kid in your class, would you want to come back tomorrow? And the crazy thing is this, I can really speak with this authority, so to speak, and I'm not trying to put anybody on blast today. I have just gone to in-services and I'm like, dang, I have to catch myself sometimes because I'm like, wow, y'all know as well as I do. Sometimes we behave worse than the children do at the in-services. Worse, not as bad. Like there are things happening at these in-services that would result in suspension. There should be at least 10 teachers suspended at every in-service. And some of us might even get expelled. Like there's some stuff happening on the lunch break. Like, come on. I didn't see people come back from the lunch break. Well, I'm just not gonna say it. I'm just gonna leave it alone. There's some questionable behavior after the lunch break. I'm like, what was y'all doing on lunch break? I'm just saying, if a kid left campus and did what some of the teachers I think do and come back, they would be expelled. So I'm saying that for this reason. We can't hold them to a standard we don't hold ourselves to. So ask yourself, if I was a child in my class, would I want to come back tomorrow? And if there is a no in there, then we have to be honest and ask ourselves, why? Why? That's why I love co-teaching so much. I don't get opportunity to do it all the time, but in those moments, I love co-teaching because sometimes I can sit in the class and participate with the kids, and it brings a whole nother level of appreciation. It's like, holy crap, this is boring. Oh my, dang, wow. I sound like that. This is why recording ourselves is so important too. How many of you make a consistent habit of recording yourself teaching, like once a week? Fantastic. I think in order for the recording thing to work, it has to be done with a level of consistency. Now, I'm going to be hypocritical right now. If you asked me if I recorded myself this week, I would say no. But I promise you, I have recorded myself so much, I needed to give myself a break. Okay, so like I'm pretty familiar with how my pacing is and how I do in the classroom, but that came as a result of me recording myself and going back and watching me. There's not a coach in the NFL that would keep their job if they didn't film the games and go back and watch them. And these are winning teams. So we get mad at athletics because they win, but they win because they win. They win because they know how to play the game. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we got the phones, we got the video, we got everything. But rarely do we watch ourselves because why? It's incredibly uncomfortable. But how can we ask our students to be uncomfortable? How can we ask our students to come out their growth zone if we don't do the same thing? I want to challenge you this week. I told you this week gonna hurt. This week's gonna hurt. I need you to video yourself every day. Doesn't have to be every class, because my goodness, you kill your storage on your phone, right? But you worst class, just pick one and be consistent with that one. And don't go pick that one class that's just killing the game. Don't you? Don't do that with all the beta club kids and the AP. No, 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 no. Go get that. Look, I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and say, go get that trash class. Get that one class where you just like, oh God, they're here again. Get that class and video yourself every day and give yourself a report. And if you don't want to partner up with each other, you can do that too. But I'm telling you, if you go back and watch, you can't fix what you're unaware of. How many of you tried to help a student fix tone and they weren't using enough air support, or they weren't doing the correct motion with the bow? They didn't have enough weight on it. How many of y'all try to? That's frustrating. And you're like, come on, you just sing out, but it doesn't sound good. I just don't want it. Honey, I can't fix what you hiding. That's what I tell them all the time. So I need you to not be afraid to play out, so to speak. And play out in this season means need you to record yourself. Also, by recording yourself, then you can better answer that question of, if I was a kid in this class today, what would prohibit me from coming back tomorrow with a good spirit, with a good attitude? What would hinder me from coming back with a spirit of expectation? Like, a kid ought to come excited to your class every day. And if they're not, all love today, that's not the kid's fault. Mm-mm. It's not. It's not. If they're not excited, that's not the kid. It's the administration. It might be. But you're the one in front of them. What can we do despite that? Because I promise you, I've seen cats, when they win, nobody goes to the administration and says thank you. You get that superior. Nobody, rarely do I see people just beating down the door. Hey, administration, I just want to thank you for your support as we achieved a superior rating this year. But when it's the 5 rating or the 4, then we're real quick to say, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. It can't be both ways. At the end of the day, when we win, we know what it takes to win. Okay, so if we're in a season where we're not winning, I want us to look back at ourselves and ask, what can we do? What can we do? Because the more autonomous you can be, the more you can control that too. Okay, but if we put it on others and in situations, then we put ourselves at the whim of circumstance. And I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, because I've seen it too many times, that what we have is greater than what's against us. but we have to be aware of what's against us, and we have to be aware of what's in us. And if we don't have the awareness, whether it's the video or whatever it is, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. Seeing them starts with seeing us. That's why I keep telling everybody about this DISC assessment. Anybody I get a chance to. Why? Because part of the game is being a student of your students. Being a student of the students. Understanding who they are. There's a certain kid I have in a class. I already know on Thursdays I ain't fooling with him because he came from dad on Wednesday. I already know it's going to be hell to pay on Thursday. So what I've done is now I'm tailoring my lessons. Okay, I got certain things he does on that day that I know are fail proof. But that came from me doing a little bit of homework and kind of knowing the student. Most behaviors are not personal. And most behaviors are lack of participation, is not anti-music. Kids are really self-absorbed. It really doesn't have as much to do with us or even what we're teaching. It really has everything to do with about them. That's why they think everybody's looking at them all the time. They think everybody's concerned with them. They are totally self-absorbed. So I promise you, they don't even wake up thinking about you. And they definitely don't go to bed thinking about you. Now, they may think about you in the course of the day, but you are not keeping them up at night. And you're not waking them up in the morning. But sometimes they do that to us. And I'm saying take that stress off and put yourself in a position to be a student of the students. And then, as I said before, point to their potential and their promise. So what do I mean by that? As I walk through the class, and oh, y'all good? You're good. I promise you, you're good. As I walk through the class and I celebrate them personally and privately. Great job. Hey, that's a real good job day. Okay, hey, we can do that better. I give them personal coaching, each kid. I'll go through with as they're playing. I'm not saying stop class, keep them playing, okay? But while they're playing, go through, I like that posture. That's good. Hey, we can do a little bit better with that. The kids know, dang, let me be on top of my game because this dude crazy. All he does is walk around. He's watching everything. And the truth of the matter is I can't see everything, but my job is to make them think I can see everything. So I'm walking through every aisle. Good job. Hey, good job. Hey, that's almost as good as yesterday. And I'm giving these demonstrations. I'm literally up here. We got some folks doing maintenance in here. They probably think I'm crazy right now because I walk through and I'm talking this thing out, and I'm like, hey, good job. Oh boy, that's better than yesterday. Even if you got to make up, hey, good shoelaces. I like those shoes. There's been some kids that were just so bad. Sometimes all I can say is, I really like those shoes. But boy, they were so proud. Hey, do me a favor. I came by early. I said, I like those shoes. Do me a favor. Can you tap that shoe? Can you tap those toes? Hey, those toes look good. Shoes look good. Oh, then they tap the toes. Why? Because I complimented their shoes 5 minutes earlier. But it's work. It's work. Like, I'm going to be honest. You can't mail it in like I'm always thinking. So I'm always pointing to their potential. This was the potential. This is that instructional academic matrix. Hey, guys, good job here. I'm pointing to their potential, but I'm also pointing to their promise. What's the promise? What they're going to be able to do. Where's the promise? On the band agenda board. It's not just idle words I write. Man, this is a promise. This is a promise. You're going to get here, but it's only going to work if we do it together. How do we make it happen together? I need us to sit tall. Here you go, guys. Fantastic. And I'm going to be honest. I don't really ask anybody to do anything. I'm bossy. I tell them, we're going to sit up and watch this. I'm telling you, it's easy to be a band bully. We're going to do this day. You smile and nod your head yes. It's so funny. Look, even y'all doing it right now. You don't even know what you're nodding your head yes to. And I save that for some of the worst stuff. If I got something I know they don't want to do, I smile and I nod my head yes. Yeah, we're gonna do that one more time, guys. Fantastic. Yeah. We're gonna be excited about it. Let's go. One more time. Fantastic. The kids don't want to play it one more time. But my delivery is everything too. So I'm always mindful of that. That's why I say record yourself so you can see certain patterns. And the cool thing is, when I say record yourself, so many of us think, I'm gonna see something negative. No, you're gonna see some positive stuff too that you're overlooking, that you may be totally unaware of. What if I told you had some secret weapons that you don't even really know you're really working with? Go back and find them. It's so amazing. How many of you have had somebody come in and observe your class and they brought something positive to your attention that you were totally unaware of? Yeah. And here's the crazy thing, you with you all the time and you didn't know it. It seems like you would know better than anybody, but sometimes it takes somebody else. Why? Because it's about what you knows. I'll prove it to you. Look at your nose right now. Yeah, it's hard. You can only see a portion of it. Here's the crazy thing. Nobody can see their own nose as well as somebody else can see it. Now, I can see all of your noses perfectly. But us trying to teach these kids and level it up without the help of technology and recording is like us trying to look at our nose ourselves and make an assessment. You can't see it, and if you do see your nose totally, you're gonna jack up your eyes. I'm just saying, it's gonna be something's gonna snap, right? So what we want to do is we want to put ourselves in position to have mirrors. So the recording of this week is simply a mirror. Now, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all grown. Everybody here is grown. I'm not going to check. You don't have to turn in your recording of you teaching. I'm not gonna sit there and watch 22 recordings of you teach. This is for you. This is about if you want to be better. And I'm telling you, the Grammy was the best thing that happened for me. But it wasn't the award. The award didn't make me better. It was the process. Because every year I had to answer those questions and I had to turn in artifacts and videos of not just me teaching, but some other pretty deep-seated stuff that really made me go, huh. They had this guy named Arsenio Hall back in the day. He was a talk show host. He had this thing called, he said, things that make you go, That's what the Grammys did. It was like, dang. And I'm gonna tell you this, when you're trying to turn in something that could potentially, help you win or change your life, man, you think people take a lot of pictures when they get ready to post on Instagram? You know what I mean? You know how many iterations I had to do with my videos? It's like, oh God, that was terrible. Oh, I can't send that. But it made me think this way. If it's not good enough to send to the Grammys, why is it good enough for me to give to the kids every day? You see what I'm saying? So today, it may seem like I'm being harsh. I'm not saying you're not a good teacher. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying, if Oprah was here and she was like, "We want to see your class," I'm just saying, I don't even know if Oprah's still hot, but whoever that person is, okay. If that person showed up today and you had one shot to show them your best class ever, does your teacher reflect that every day? Just saying. But then the question is, why are we reserving that for people that don't really matter? Because Oprah really don't know any of us and really don't care. But at the end of the day, when we all pass away, there's probably going to be a student that's at your funeral. And I'm not trying to be down or anything. I'm just saying, like, we're making this is a real life connection. Why would I give more to somebody who don't even know me from Adam than I would the person who's sitting there at my feet every day? And if they're sitting at my feet every day, ready to learn, I want to make sure that I'm seeing them, number one. But before I see them, I guess number one is I'm seeing myself. So I see you today. Comes down to this. Our challenge, and then we're gonna open it up because I stirred y'all up today. I hope I made somebody mad today. I'm glad because I want y'all to come out blazing. Mickey, you're wrong. Mickey, you don't know, or this is what I think, or thank you. I want some participation today because today's seems simple, but it's the most important one, I think, out of everything we've done so far, because our ability to see is the difference maker. That's what separates the good teachers from the great teachers and the bad teachers. They all have the same kids. Nobody's got different kids on your campus per se. I know there may be some AP courses and stuff like that, but we're all pulling from the same community. So how do some people get more out of one kid? How does one kid leave a class cussing out the teacher, lighting the trash can on fire, and the next class they wiping off the dry erase board and they're handing out papers? How is that? It's that other teacher. Well, both teachers. It's what they see. It's both teachers. It's what they see, and kids can tell. I told you, you can't go where I grew up anymore. They literally bulldozed the whole place, and they built a chemical plant on top of it. And I shared this with y'all because, as I said earlier, I didn't need the bulldozers to show up to know how people felt about the little town I grew up in. I walked into that classroom. I'll never forget that teacher. When I told her I'm from Mossville, she's like, oh, like I stunk or something. Like she was cool up until then. And she's a nice person. Matter of fact, I've hung out with her and chilled with her. It's not even worth bringing up. I'm not trying to be petty, but it was a teachable moment. I still love her. No ill will. She never did anything against me, but I could feel that when I walked into the room. And it took me being an incredibly excellent student for her to even see me. Had I been marginal, I feel like I would have been marginalized. And I'm not saying anybody on this call is purposely marginalizing their kids. All I'm saying is kids can tell how we view them, good or bad. And I ain't gonna lie, I got some I teach right now that I don't particularly like, but I have to love them. And there's a difference. There's a difference. And loving them means, for me, giving them the most incredible experience, even if they don't want it. You're going to get quality whether you want it or not. And not just quality, high quality, right? High, intense quality. So our homework this week is number one, to video ourselves every day and to answer the question, if I was a kid in this class and I didn't want to come back the next day, what would those reasons be? You don't even have to come up with a solution for it. I just like, we don't have to get that deep. Can we just recognize it? What are the shortcomings? Because nobody's perfect. Look, I could do it for myself. I got shortcomings. I've done this for myself in the past few weeks because I needed to pivot. I needed to improve on some stuff. So I'm not telling y'all this from a standpoint of, oh, I'm so good. No, I literally did this 2 weeks ago because I had a couple kids. I'm like, man, I ain't making the connections. Okay, so if I'm sitting in their seat, why don't I want to come back? And I videoed myself and I'm like, oh, I see what they see. Now, is what I did wrong? No, no. But I had to come back and kind of massage some things. I had to come back and I had to revisit. And I also had to explain to them, in private, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I don't know that you know this. I'm doing this for your benefit. I'm doing it this way. But I'm gonna be honest with you, maybe I'm not doing it right. How would you suggest that we do such and such? That was tough because I'm smarter than them and I have more degrees. It's tough putting your ego aside and asking a 12-year-old what they think you should do better. But I did it. And you know what happens sometimes when I ask those questions? Sometimes the 12-year-olds give me great answers where I'm like, oh, snap. Dang, that was low key kind of brilliant. And then I do it better. And then my principal comes in and says, wow, Mickey, that was a really innovative teaching. I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, yeah, 12-year-old told me to do that. So I don't tell the principal that, but inside my head, I'm like, oh, wow. Sixth grader told me that. So in our case, I want us to do that, video ourselves, and then go back and ask ourselves the tough questions. If I were a kid in my class and I didn't want to come back today, the next day, why would that be? All right, the floor is open. Talk to me. Talk to me. Keep on going, crew. Talk to me.
There is a one classroom in my school, and they just lost their third science teacher.
Ooh.
And it's a 7th and 8th grade science, and it's the homeroom. And yeah, there are just some kids that are just really tough. And it's weird because the art teacher's daughter is in that class. And there are a bunch of really, really good kids. And she had heard through the grapevine that somebody was applying for this job. And this is the art teacher saying, those kids need to be loved. They are tough, but they need to be loved.
Mm-hmm. And
And
one thing, especially situations like that, where you have maybe a tough class, and sometimes a tough class, they're not even bad. Maybe they just have strong personalities. They have a great awareness. Sometimes that's the toughest classes, especially the teachers' kids, because they know BS. They've seen the underbelly of teaching. They know if you got it or not, right? And one thing I've found is my greatest success has come from me just being open with them and telling them, you know, I don't need a 12-year-old friend. Well, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm here to be, I'm here to be your mentor. I'm here to be your guide. I'm gonna be friendly, but I'm not gonna be your friend. And that's important too. When you go back and watch these videos, just kind of watch, how am I interacting with them? I'm not saying, everybody's got a different style, and my energy is totally different. Like, even as we've gotten to know each other, I'm sure there's some of you like, man, he ain't anything like I thought. Like, he seemed like lovable and jovial, and I am. But I like to have those boundaries, because sometimes if there's not those limits and those boundaries, those kids can push the envelope to where, something that's cool on a Monday, it low key aggravates us on Thursday, and then now I don't have a foot to stand on because I let such and such slide on Tuesday. So the thing is this: you always know who Mr. Smith is. I'm gonna be the same dude every day, and we're gonna have moments of levity and we're gonna have fun, but there's gonna be such a consistency that you can count on me. And what happens is, I found it more times than not, those tough kids, those hard to reach kids, they tend to gravitate to that level of consistency, because so many of them don't have that at all. And even the ones that have a great parent or a teacher, as a parent, that mom was probably grading papers. So she may be present, but man, she's occupied. But here's this individual who seems to always be present. He always seems to be connecting. Man, even between us playing, he's always telling me I'm doing good. I didn't really think I was doing good, but man, it's like the 7 times Smith told me I'm doing good. Maybe I'm doing good. Man, let me sit up a little bit tall. It's those small little deposits that make a difference. And not only does it make a difference and it keeps the kid, but it keeps us too. It keeps us. Emily, were you going to share something? I thought I saw a hand earlier. Somebody, maybe it was. Emily said, "Don't call on me. That wasn't me." I thought I saw her hand. I'm sorry. It's all good. That's my mistake. I thought I saw the hand. But by all means, guys, I truly, truly 100% believe this, that the videoing this week can be your absolute game changer if you allow it. If you allow it. I'm telling you, there's nothing stronger. That's why we go to assessment. That's why we go to MPAs, so that we can have somebody else provide a level of reflection on us. But why wait till MPA to do it? We can do it every single day. Each and every day we can do this. So I want to challenge you again. Make sure you do this. And as I challenge you, I want to share one last true thought and story. This past week, I received an inbox from a lady. My first year in Florida, I attended FMEA, and I was the keynote speaker. And I asked if they would have somebody that could capture the moment and take pictures. So they had some fantastic photographers. And when I finished speaking, because nobody knew me there per se, I'd never met anybody personally there. The photographer lady, I could see she was a little emotional. She wasn't like all out crying, but I could tell like she was a little emotional afterwards. And she says, "There's something I have to tell you." She says, "Your presentation today made a difference in ways you can't even imagine. And I'm not able to tell you about it right now. I'm just not in a place, but I can tell you what you said today. I needed to hear, because I had some of that. There's some things I was struggling with. Those feelings came back today. And your talk it really helped me." So I was like, "Oh, well, thank you. And, thank you for sharing. And, I appreciate that. And, I wish you all the best in the future." And hadn't really talked. She followed me on social media, but I hadn't really talked to her. Earlier this week, I got an inbox from her. She said, "I'm finally ready to talk." She said, "I didn't go into detail with it, but FMEA was in January." She said, "That December, I attempted suicide. I tried to kill myself. And I didn't get into details. I don't know. She wasn't successful. Thank goodness." She said, "On the day that you came to speak, I was struggling with those same feelings." And she said, "I can't tell you. You share with us." She's 2 or 3 things I told him to do. And she said, "There's no way you could have known, but those things have carried me through." I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe that. It just reminds us that we can be on a stage and not understand the impact. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even really want to go and present that day because it was, number one, my daughter's birthday. And on top of that, I was sick too. But I went that day. I took my daughter with me to FMEA because she was a graduating senior. I told her, come on, there'll be some colleges up here. So we just made a daddy-daughter day. I took her there. And I also ran into Wyclef Gordon, who's a phenomenal trombone player. He was doing a keynote speak. Fast forward, I had no idea that on this week, I would talk to that woman and she would tell me why it was important I was there. And I'd also talk to Wyclef Gordon, who's now next week coming to our school to perform for our students in our night of jazz. Had I not shown up because I wasn't feeling good, look what would have happened. Could potentially have happened. I mean, and look, this is trivial compared to that other thing that I was sharing with you, you know, and it's not our job to take on unnecessary burdens, but I believe it's our job to make sure that we execute on that stage at the highest level every day. You're not going to be perfect. Don't put that pressure on yourself. You don't have to have all the answers. But what I am saying is answer the call. Don't just show up to work, answer the call. And answering the call, doggone it, they make more money than I do, but I'm not gonna let some joker who didn't even finish college with an NFL contract out professional me. He's gonna make more money. I'm gonna be honest. I won't lie. He's gonna make more money. But when it comes to being a professional, some of those guys I know them personally. I've even had students that went on to play in the league. When you talk about when it comes to the weight and the regiment and all that kind of stuff, incredible, consummate professionals, the ones that stay in the game for a long time. But I think we can be that same level of professional. I'm not going to let some kid watch film better than I watch film on myself to be better on the field than I am on the stage. And the stage, by that, I mean the classroom. So we've got our management action plans. We've got our plans in place. Now I want to challenge you to see you. Literally, by doing these videos, you're literally saying, I see you. I see you. I need you to see yourself. And if you can see yourself, then now once you start getting good, it's just like I tell the kids, I need you to practice. Don't write those letter names in. Don't you write those letter names into that little beginning method book. You memorize those notes. You memorized every character in the Avengers. You can't tell me you can't memorize 5 people, 5 notes. You memorize those. Why? Because the more we do it, even though it's difficult, the more we do it, after a while, the fingers start to automate. After a while, the fingers start moving and we don't even think about it. I need you to look at you and study you so that you can start operating in the zone teaching, operating that next level to where you're not even really thinking about it. I need you to see yourself beyond yourself. That's what this week's assignment is. It won't be one that you necessarily have to turn in, okay? I don't want your videos. I appreciate the work. And if you have questions about the videos, I'm happy to answer. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm just saying, do not feel like you have to turn in. Don't get a Dropbox subscription and give me 100 videos. I'm be honest, I'm not going to look at it. I just told you we moved this week. I'm about to leave and clean up a property and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to have time to look at it. This is for you. You go back and be a student of yourself and look at those videos and ask yourself the tough questions and then slowly make the adjustments. And don't gut all your teaching. Don't flip the whole thing over. Just make a tweak. What's one thing that you can improve on? One thing that you can streamline your approach with. One thing that you can change about how you interact with the kids. One thing you can do about getting the information across. Small things. For example, when I watched myself, I understood that the first thing I need to do when I stop in the middle of a song is I need to say who I'm talking to. I used to say, all right, measure 42. I need more dynamic contrast in the trumpets. Then I get mad when I had to repeat myself. And the fact of the matter is the trumpets weren't listening until they heard the word trumpet. So by watching the video, I was like, oh, snap, let me just say this. All right, trumpets. Boom, I got them. Hey, at measure such and such, I need more dynamic contrast. Do you understand how much time I save by flipping that as opposed to, hey, I need more dynamic contrast and measure such and such trumpets? They're not listening. Only way I figured that out was by watching myself. I can't wait to see what you see when you actually take the time to see yourself. That's what this week's discussions are going to be. and we have to be honest with each other. So I need you to tell me what, and I'm gonna put some really pointed discussion points. What are the absolute worst things you're seeing in your classroom that you are doing? Not what the kid, I don't want to hear about the kids. I'm saying that, look, and it has nothing to do with what anybody said today. I was gonna say that anyway. I don't want to hear anything about what the kids do. I want, like, you, what are the worst things you're doing? What are some things you can develop in? What are some unexpected things you found or outcomes? Because if you can't control the kids, but you can't control you. You can't change the kids, but you can change you. And when they see the change in you, I'm telling you, they're gonna have to bend. They gotta move. But only if we make those changes and we're consistent with it and we're absolutely dynamic with it. The only way you can be dynamic is if you're intentional. That's what being on purpose is. And if you're on purpose, then you're going to be operating with purpose. I'm telling you, purpose is the key, but it comes from a fact of being intentional. And that intentionality only comes with awareness. And awareness only comes when we're aware of something, we can see it. And being able to see it only comes when you're able to capture that. And in this case, that means using your phone or whatever device you can to see, because you can only be what you can see at the end of the day. All right, guys. Clock on the wall says it's time to go. I appreciate our time together. Thank y'all. I really do. More than y'all realize. I hope y'all get a lot out of this, because I definitely enjoy sharing and hearing your challenges. And I hope I'm not too gruff when I respond back to your challenges. I just get excited. And I've been with 12-year-olds all day, so my spirit's probably weird, but it's all good. Y'all understand. In the meantime, guys, keep on going. Be sound. I'll see y'all, I think on, nope. I won't see y'all next week. I'll see you on the 24th, I believe. All right.
Yes.
Guys. Until next time.
Thanks, Mickey.
Thanks.
Thank